why drugs are addicting, but I know.
Why?
It's because the levels of consciousness at the highest are joy and ecstasy. What a drug does is sedate the lower levels of consciousness, the ordinary anxiety, fear, guilt. And the drug sedates the lower levels of consciousness and allows you to experience the reality of what you truthfully are.
Yeah.
And that is infinite joy and peace and existence. So the drug, so then the person, because they're naive, thinks, oh, it's the drug that did that. It is not the drug that did that. It's the drug that blotted out what was drowning it out, and now you experience the reality of who you really are. Now the thing is, how can you reach that state without the drugs? By letting go of the lower levels of consciousness, hate, guilt, fear, shame, avarice, all those things, you see.
How do we do that? How do we do that? Yeah. So this is great now. We can just stay focused here. Yeah, that spiritual work, that heightened state of awareness that you're talking about. And you say that you share your own experiences with us in the book, and note that few follow the steps because they're so simple. First, you say we have to have the intense desire to reach that state.
Yes,
and then,
that may be inborn. That may be inborn. That drive to know God, reach God, to reach a divine state could be inborn, you know.
Okay, so you're saying for you, I'm thinking it might have been inborn for you if you're looking at your consciousness at 3 years old and are aware that that's what you're looking at.
Yes, I was aware of that, yes.
Okay. The first thing is to have intense desire, and then a discipline to act with constant and universal forgiveness and gentleness without exception, you say. The discipline to act with constant and universal forgiveness and gentleness without exception.
That's it. To love everything as it is.
One has to be compassionate toward everything, including one's own self and thoughts. So
That's
not
true.
wanting a thing to be different, not wanting things to be different?
That's true.
Really?
That's true.
And that's...
Then your view of the world transforms. So you say, I can remember walking down an alley in New York City that everybody would consider ugly. Bums there and rats and busted up garbage cans. But in a beatific state, it looked almost to me like an impressionistic painting. Here was this adorable old trash can, and here was this cute little rat running all over, and this old man stumbling down the stairs, and it was like stunning beauty and perfection. And I saw the perfection of all that exists, and that the reason we can't see it is man projects onto everything is judgmental perception. If you remove your perception, you'll see that everything that exists is absolutely perfect. One of the easiest places to see this is nature. So you say, well, there's weeds and those are flowers. But when you reach a certain state of stop trying to change the world, you look at the weed and you suddenly see a weed as a stunning piece of sculpture. You just grab the nearest piece of weed out in the garden and look at it. It's stunning perfection. It's sculpture. No human could do that in that delicate perfection. Yeah, you see the perfection and beauty of all that shines forth. Yes,
and it's our perception of it. I got that. It's our perception of it and what we have told ourselves that a weed represents that makes us feel that a weed is less beautiful than a blooming flower.
So that's the difference between perception and essence. In other words, perception is what you project onto the world, and essence is what it really is. And, of course, Socrates made that distinction and said, every man pursues only the good. It's just that he doesn't know what the real good is.
Well, yes, you should know, since Socrates and Plato were your playmates.
They were my playmates.
What awakening do you think, or is there an awakening that is to occur from tragic episodes?
In my view of it, mankind as a race is evolutionary.
Right.
And that his consciousness is evolving over the centuries. So he goes up and he goes down.
Where are we now?
And don't forget, man has been at war 97% of recorded time. 97% of time. So 3% of the time he was probably too sick or too poor. I don't know. But anyway. Finally,
97% of recorded time on
97% of the time. Look, the wars, the barbarians went on for centuries. You know, the East and the West were at war for well over 1,000 years. You know, the wars have been going on for thousands of years. it's very, very rare for there to be no war anywhere in the world. And probably only happens during the plague. Everybody's too sick.
Mm-hmm.
So, man,
I'm just taking all this in. I can't refute it because I don't have any stats to refute it.
No, well, man inherits the ego. You might say is his animal nature that he spiritually evolves and transcends. And if you think of it karmically, those that deny the reality and the truth of Almighty God are denying the fruits.
Is everything happening for a reason here on Earth? Do you believe?
From an infinite viewpoint, yes. It has to do with options and choices and propensity for choices, and it also has to do with quantum mechanics. It has to do with called the Zeno effect. Mm-hmm. The more often you the more often you choose a certain alternate, the more likely you are to choose that again. And by intention, consciousness affects the phenomena in the world. A scientific experiment cannot be done twice because the fact that you're observing it has already changed the outcome. So our intention for ourselves and others in the world affects the world. So your concern for them and my concern for them, all of our concern for them, alters the world, yes? Mm-hmm.
You say be passionate for God, not for belief systems.
Yes. Yes, people make an ism out of everything. You can't mention, our world is so politicized, you can't mention anything in this world that somebody doesn't have a political label on it, either left or right or something, some kind of a miserable thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be passionate for God, not for belief systems.
Yeah. So because the world gets so contentious, and the book I'm working on now is called Spiritual Reality in Modern Man. The dilemma: how can man discern truth when the media and the press, everything presents a edited selection of what's going on out there, in a slanted view.
Well, it's been a joy to talk to you. I was really looking forward to talking to you because I have your books underlined and so to have an opportunity to question you about some of them, I'm glad to know it really never was a drug trip, that it was really you going to the different levels of your consciousness. And really, I feel from reading all of your books, a more enlightened being here in this present state. So thank you so much. And I loved your quote when you said, simple kindness to oneself and all that lives is the most powerful transformational force of all. So thank you for your book, Power versus Force, and for this conversation. Thanks, Dr. Hawkins.
Thank you for your service to this world.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, more Soul Series next week on XM 156. Keep on talking to me.